Can you give us a little background? Like, who is Eric Adams?
Yeah, well, let's go back in time a little bit here because there's so many big narratives that are converging in this story. Like as a journalist and a storyteller, it's quite challenging even for me to keep all of them straight. But let's start with Eric Adams. He was a former New York City police officer who got into politics. He was once a Republican, but has run as a Democrat. He won office in 2021 in kind of the immediate aftermath of that first wave of COVID. People were getting vaccinated. The city was starting to reopen. There had been quite a lot of economic disruption and the beginning of concerns that we've seen kind of ebb and flow over the last couple of years about public safety in New York. And Adams really arrived and spoke into that moment and was elected by a very narrow margin to be the second Black mayor of New York City. At the beginning, he looked like a hugely promising political figure. People calling him the Biden of Brooklyn, suggesting maybe he was going to go big places on the national stage. But he almost immediately became caught up in a series of kind of ethical questions and then scandals and then investigations involving a number of the people that he brought into his administration as advisors and then ultimately his own actions. And that all came to a head last fall in September when federal prosecutors in Manhattan brought an indictment against him. He's the first sitting mayor to be indicted on federal charges in the history of New York City. This was a big public corruption case. And they came out and said that while he was an elected official in an earlier office and as mayor, he had accepted favors, in this case, a bunch of travel perks, upgraded flights worth tens of thousands of dollars and free hotel rooms from Turkey in exchange for help financing his campaign with illegal contributions. Foreigners are not supposed to be contributing to New York City elections. They also said that there was a so-called straw donor scheme that was involved in this, helping to finance his campaign. That's where, one person is actually putting up the money to support a campaign, but they put somebody else's name on the check to make it legal. And prosecutors allege that Adams did certain favors in return, most notably leaning on the fire department to speed up the opening of this big Turkish consulate building in Manhattan. It wasn't going to be open in time for President Erdogan of Turkey to kind of christen it in person when he came to New York. The Turks really wanted to do that. So at that point, Adams was the mayor-elect, and prosecutors say he helped speed that up. So they bring this big indictment in the fall. It's a huge deal. A lot of people call on the mayor to resign, but he weathers it. And it's interesting. Two things happen. One, he claims that the indictment was politically motivated. And this is where the kind of second story of this comes into play. New York City has seen a huge influx of migrants over the last 2 years as border crossings increased. Hundreds of thousands of those people ended up in New York City, which has always been a MAGA